Good morning. How are you all? Hope you're okay. Very early today. It is 7:30 and it's the 18th of August. A bit croaky because a little bit damp last night. You can tell that autumn's on its way, and I've actually got my jumper on for the first time in, well, it must be about a month, something like that, and trousers on as well. So it's just been so nice, the weather has. It's been a really good summer, and obviously we've got autumn coming now. Big fish time, and there's lots of good fish coming out as well. I'm at the Foundry today, which is the Lincolnshire Syndicate water that I've done quite a bit of filming on over the last 2 or 3 years. It's known as the Foundry. I think everybody knows that, you know, there's no need to keep it secret. The guys that own it, Dave, who's the main owner of it, he's on social media, he's on Instagram, and anybody that's interested in joining can contact him. There's no problem at all. You have to join the Winter Syndicate first, then you get, if you get on the Winter Syndicate, you then get offered or invited to come and fish for the full ticket as well. I can't tell you whether you're going to get on, because it is very much an in-demand lake, especially with a really nice big fish being caught last week at 53 pounds and I don't know how many ounces, but a fish called Rollies, which has got to be one of the best carp in England. Absolutely stunning fish. Big scaly mirror, grown on in this lake from a very small size, and it's not the biggest fish in the lake either, because there's been a carp out this year as well that's not been caught for 3 years. 3 years, over 3 years. Craig Livingston had it, a fish called Lucky, which was 55 and a half, I think it was. So this lake, it's quite pressured. There's a lot of guys fishing it regularly, and for it to go uncaught for 3.5 years, and it's done it regularly, this fish has. It's gone missing for 3 years on several occasions, so it's getting away with it. It's one of those fish, how it's grown so big and it's getting away with it, and it's a Simo as well, that one is, then I've no idea, absolutely no idea. But Rollies isn't that Simo. It's an English strain fish. I don't know exactly where it's come from, so I'm not even going to guess. And this lake in particular, I do get a lot of people asking me about joining it. That's the reason why I've mentioned it. I did used to keep it a little bit under wraps about the name of it, because when I first joined the syndicate, I had the respect for the guys that's on the lake and the members and the owners, and just kept it as a Lincolnshire Syndicate water, which is what it was known as. And it's only in recent times that the owner Dave has turned around and said he wants people to get to know what it's called. It's called the Foundry. Beautiful lake, absolutely beautiful, 30 acres in size. The first time I've been down here this year, when I say this year, I mean this season, because the lake started its full ticket in, I think it was the last week of June or the first week in July, I can't remember exactly. So obviously we're 6-7 weeks into the season now. Been here since, what time did I get here? I got here yesterday at, I think it was about 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock I got here, and first time on the lake, as I say, this season. Not really kept in tune with what's going on. Parked my car in the first car park and walked straight into this one, which is called the Doubles, and immediately I saw half a dozen fish show. And knowing what this swim can be like when there's fish in front of you, I thought, yeah, bingo, I'm going in here. I didn't even walk around the rest of the lake. I went straight in here, set myself up, and we are now, the first morning, as I say, it's now 7:45, and I've already caught one. So to get one on my first night back on the lake, I'm really happy, and it was a good one as well. So I thought it might go 40, but it didn't. It just missed the mark. It's a 39.12 common, so that's a decent common for me out of here. That's my second biggest common from this lake. So my first biggest common was a fish that's called Henderson's common, which I had last year at 45 and a bit, something like that. And I've not had many commons out of here. I had quite a few mirrors out of here, but that's my second biggest common, so really happy with that. But there's been some decent fish out as well. There's been a couple of nice 40-pound linears out this last week. There was also Rollies out, as I said, but there's been a lot of good fish out. I was speaking to one of the guys yesterday who's walking around, Craig. He was just leaving. He'd had 8 fish out of shallows, which is a right result, up to about 38 pounds as well. So, you know, they have definitely turned on. And I've got 3 nights, so I've got 2 nights left, and we'll see how we get on. But really what I want to talk about today isn't just an update on what's going on here. It's also to talk really about getting tickets on lakes, because this is something that I get a lot of messages from people about various different things to do with carp fishing, but the one thing that I probably get most messages about is, can you help me get on this lake? Can you help me get a ticket on there? Especially Rainbow Lake. I get so many, even now. I haven't been to Rainbow for quite a few years, And I still get loads of messages from people, Crowy, can you get my name down on Rainbow Lake? How do I get a ticket? I've messaged the owner and they've not replied, all this kind of stuff. Some lakes, unless you know the people who are fishing them regularly, you're probably unlikely to get on them. And even Rainbow Lake, which is somewhere that I have fished quite a bit in the past, nowadays I do struggle to get on there. I know guys that are still fishing it, but they've got a lot of friends that are obviously pestering them to get on there. This year I actually got offered a couple of trips there, which unfortunately I had to turn it down because I've got a few things on with Avid and a few of my mates as well. So, you know, they don't come along very often, those trips. So fish is just chopped right over my left-hand rod of those two. Right over a good fish as well, good dark one. And that's probably about the sixth fish I've seen in the last hour in front of me. So, and it's a good time in the day, this swim is. It's definitely a much better day swim than it is night swim, although I have caught them at night. And well, I've caught them all hours from this swim, but it's definitely a better day swim, so we'll see. It'd be nice to get a bite live on camera, but getting places on Rainbow ain't easy. And, you know, even for people that work in the trade, it's not easy. I know a lot of guys in the trade who are desperate to fish there. They just haven't had the chance, the opportunity, or the dates available for them to get on there. But it is a little bit of a venue, that is, where unless you know someone who's got specific dates on there, then you're unlikely to just be able to text them or message them via Facebook or their website and be able to get on there. You've got to go over there, get to know the owner, get to know the guys that's fishing there regularly, that's got the spaces, and that's probably your only chance of getting in there. But other syndicate lakes, there's not just Rainbow that I get asked about where to fish. I get asked a lot about the venues that appear in my films. Obviously this one, which I've already talked about. If you're interested in getting on this one, then the only way of doing it is messaging Dave, the owner, via the Instagram page, which is the Foundry and Thirlby, I think it's called, on Foundry Gravel Pit and Thirlby. It's on Instagram anyway, and Dave's the owner, and he's a lovely guy. Whether he'll message you back straight away or not, I don't know, but there might be a bit of a delay in him getting back to you, but he does reply to most people. And I say most because obviously social media, you do get these people that just message you, how much? Believe me, you do get people like, how much? What for, mate? You know, if you're interested in joining a lake, then that is not the way to approach the owner. You've got to approach them in the right way, write a nice little introductory message to them, be good with your grammar. Hi, really interested in joining your lake, blah, blah, blah. And just say a little bit about yourself. I'm so-and-so, and I've been carp fishing so many years, and I've done this, and I've done that, and I'm friends with so-and-so. That's the way to get into lakes. It's not, how much is it, pal, yo, bro, bruv, all this kind of stuff. Just do it the right way, and there's definitely ways of getting into lakes. Now, the Winter Syndicate on this lake, the way that he does it is he'll get his messages, and he might not message you back straight away, but closer to the time of when he does his little walk around, because he invites people down to a walk around on the lake. And basically what you do is you all arrive at the same time. It's normally on a weekend, and you're shown around by the bailiffs as a big group. Sometimes there's about 50 guys that come down here, shown the lake, told the rules, blah, blah, blah. And if your face fits, that kind of thing, then you may get offered. Once you've got yourself on the Winter Syndicate, then once they've got to know you, they know that you're a competent angler, then you may get offered a full ticket, which, believe me, there ain't many people that drop off this lake because it's such a good lake. It's such an in-demand lake. And it's the same with a lot of waters. It's not just this venue I want to talk about today, because I want to talk about lots of different venues, because I'm generalising now when I'm talking about getting yourself down on a syndicate water or joining in a lake. There's a process of doing it. It's not just a case of you're just going to get somebody knock on your door and say, we want you to join our lake. That doesn't happen. There are Facebook pages, I've talked about this before, where the syndicate availability page is on Facebook, and there does seem to be quite a lot of syndicate lakes that are now offering places. And I think it's probably because the ceiling price for some syndicates has reached a limit, because it depends on not just the stock that you've got and the size of the fish that you've got, but also the nature of the lake as well, and what kind of venue it is. You know, this kind of lake that I'm fishing now, it's got a lot of big fish in it, and of course that will demand a high ticket price. But it's not just the big fish, it's the quality of the fish that's in this lake. They're absolutely stunning. They're pristine as well. And also what you've got here is a lake where they care for the fish. They've got rules in place to make sure that the fish are handled in the right way. It's also a very, very stunning water. It's a very secure venue as well. It's completely fenced. It's also a nice mature lake as well. There's a lot of trees around it that offer a lot of shelter during the really warm days. All of the swims are very comfortable as well. They're very well looked after. There's no litter. There's rules in place on this lake that you're not even allowed to drop a fag butt. You can't drop a tea bag. You can't even pee in the swims. You have to pee right at the back. And anybody that seems to be breaking these rules, then you're going to get yourself in some sort of bother, because this lake isn't just about the owners, it's about the people that fish here. Because the lads that turn up to fish here, they don't want to be going into swims where there's a bit of muck left, a bit of line on the floor, there's a bit of rubbish and litter about. They want respectful members. They want people that's going to look after the lake and respect the lake and the other members that's paid quite a decent amount of money to be here. And that's what you get nowadays with a lot of lakes, is the higher the price that you pay, the better off the fishing is. Not just in terms of what fish you've got, but also the quality of the fishing experience. I'm also a member of some other good waters, and one that springs to mind is Alan Cooper's Long Lake. I'm a member of there. I haven't even fished it this year, and that's not a really overly priced ticket, that isn't. I think I paid about $8.50 for that one. And there's carp in there to over £50. There's stunning scaly mirrors. It's a 30-man syndicate on there. And generally speaking, it's very quiet down there as well. You might get 2, 3, 4, 5 people on there at a time, and that's a big 10, 11, 12 acre lake as well. Not easy fishing, quite challenging fishing, and I kind of like that as well. And the guys that's members of that lake are exactly the same as on here. There's a nice group of lads, nice bunch of lads, respectful of one another. They don't go fishing swims that's opposite somebody. They don't go and fish swims that's right next to somebody and impede on somebody else's fishing. They've got respect for the other lads. They'll go around and speak to them before they set up. They'll go around and ask them, is it okay if I do this? Is it all right if I go and put some bait down here? There's a lot of respect there, and that's the kind of members that a lot of lakes want, especially lakes that's been around for a few years, because it's fair to say that if you're new to carp fishing, then your outlook on carp fishing is going to be completely different to the outlook of a guy who's been doing it for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. There are people that's still around carp fishing that's been doing it for that length of time. I know quite a few guys in their late 80s that's been carping since before I was born. And obviously when you've been doing it that long, there's certain things that you want from your fishing. You want that respect factor. You want people to respect you as a member, to respect you as an angler. And once you've got that respect for other members, then it does help getting yourself onto tickets, because word gets round, and it's surprising how connected a lot of the fisheries are, especially in the same locality around here. A lot of the fishery owners, they're all friends with one another, and they've all got their own blocked list, banned list, or might not let them join list, and they're all in communication with one another, and they all speak to one another regularly. And often you can see the same guys struggling to get on waters in the same area because of something that they've done down the line. They might have left a bit of litter, they might have been a bit disrespectful to other members, they might have left the gate open. And these days, if you leave the gate open on lakes where there's otters, then let's be honest, you really are asking for no membership on a lot of lakes. A lot of lakes that I'm a member of as well have also got CCTV on the gate. This one that I'm a member of here, on the Foundry, this has got CCTV on. Girton down the road as well, that's got CCTV on the gate. So they know who's coming through the gate. They're checking which members are making sure that the gate is locked. They're checking which members are just in another fish. They're very active at the minute. Come on, boys. They're making sure they've got lads that are going to dip the nets in the dip tanks, and also make sure that the dip tanks are closed, so they're not getting diluted. There's a lot of things that you've got to do if you want to get on syndicate lakes. That is my right hand rod. There are fish about. There are fish about. I've got my indicators on quite sensitive at the minute, so I do feel like I'm going to get another bite though. And oh, there's a fish. God, just topped over my right hand rod. This lake, it's got so many big fish in it that I'm always sat on edge, because the fish as well, the quality of them is just outstanding. Anyway, where was I? They want members that's going to be respectful, the people that's going to shut the doors on the sheds where the weighing and landing gear is, because that's what you've got here. You can't use your own nets and slings, you have to use the fishery's own stuff. The biosecurity on these lakes is absolutely exceptional, because they're trying to make sure that you're not going to bring any diseases with you, you're not going to transfer any problems into the lake. So, You know, these are the kind of people that they want, the people that's going to be respectful of the rules and not break the rules and not try and look for ways of how they can do things sneaky. And, you know, this is one thing that I've found over the years. You know, when I was a younger guy, my outlook on carp fishing was a lot different to what it is now. When I was in my 20s and probably into my 30s, you've got an ego in them days. And I'm not trying to say I ain't got an ego now, because I have. I think all men have got egos. But your ego, as you get older, it fades away. It starts to fade away. You know, when you're in your 20s, you're a little bit more competitive. You're a little bit sort of, you know, fluffed up, as my missus calls them. Calls it, fluffed up, and you want to be better than the other guys and all that kind of stuff. And that competition in carp fishing, as you get older, you start to realise there ain't no competitive in carp fishing. You know, it's being competitive in carp fishing is suited for matches rather than syndicate fishing. Syndicate fishing is about being friends with everybody, being part of the community, getting on with everybody. If there's a barbecue and stuff like that, then you're going to be able to turn up and you're going to be able to mix with all the lads. You know, you're not going to be the odd one out. And if you are the odd one out, then the others will try and integrate you. But if you don't integrate with them, then, you know, then it's going to be probably difficult for you to get into syndicate fishing. So, you know, there's a lot of things that help you get tickets. It's not just about, I've got my money in my pocket, is there a space, can I get on there? And as I say, when you're younger, that ego is a lot more alive. And certainly I hope Alan Cooper doesn't mind me saying this. I know he's had a few problems on Roach Pit in the past, and generally speaking, it was a lot of younger guys on there. And the younger guys, you know, the 20-year-olds, they're texting one another, they're messaging one another. It's like this competitiveness. Who's that's come through the gate? What are they doing? Where they're going? What swim they're going? Where's he going to bucket? Oh, I'm going to bucket there. And you almost, I think you might have even heard that one. It comes straight out in front of me. Literally launched itself out. So I'm right on the back of the wind at the minute as well. So normally on this lake, the fish are on the end of the wind, but at the minute, it seems that they're at the back of the wind. I haven't even been round to the windward end, so they might be round there, but there's certainly a lot of fish in front of me at the back of the wind. So I could end up getting another bite if another one just come out again in front of me. God, what an arrival back to the lake. I've not been on here for a few weeks, and I've come back and there's fish showing themselves all over me, so I'm hoping I'm going to get another chance. And this swim, it does do decent fish as well. So anyway, going back to what I was talking about, it's the, you know, on Roach Pit, I know he had a few problems with lads fishing tight to snags. I think there was one guy who was even fishing with one of his rods right in the middle of the snags. There's a big snaggy area, and he'd got one of these small sawn off type rods or something like that, and he'd put it right in the snags. And obviously Alan found out about it, and you know, if you're a fishery owner, then those kind of guys, they're not the sort that you want. You want the guys that's just going to fit in, blend in with the rest of the guys and just enjoy what syndicate fishing is about, because there is a massive difference between fishing day ticket waters and fishing syndicate waters. And you know, I certainly know if I owned a lake in England and I had a syndicate, I'd be very selective about which people I want to join. So, you know, I totally understand why some lakes are quite, can we call it ruthless, about the way that they filter their members. And so, another one come out right at the back. There's a lot of fish in front of me here now. But yeah, sometimes it can take you many years to get tickets as well. And indeed, the big pit that I'm a member of that I've been fishing this year, that's taken me quite a while to get on there. It's taken me almost 10 years to get on there. And quite a few times I've tried to join other lakes and it's taken me several years. So if you're interested in joining syndicates, then it's not something that's going to happen to you real quickly. You're not just going to get offered a ticket straight away unless that particular lake has had a lot of fallout from the membership. And usually that happens when the ticket price jumps up massively, and it does happen. And then there's 10% of the members start to fall out and stuff, so that it opens the doors for a lot of members. So, you know, it does happen, but generally speaking, it can take quite a few years to get onto lakes, and it can also be a filtering process through, sometimes you might have an interview, sometimes you might have to go down to the lake and have a walk around with the owner. There's lots of different ways of joining lakes. It's all dependent on what the owner's like and how he does it. Sometimes there are some lakes that don't even have a filtering process, and generally speaking, they're the lakes that are just commercial. They're after the money more than anything. And I myself was interested in joining a lake. To give you an example now, for this coming winter, and there was a winter syndicate that was offered, and they put it on Facebook. It's got some really big fish in it, not too far away from where I am now. I was interested in joining it, thinking, yeah, I might get myself on there and see how we get on. I saw the details on the Facebook page, inquired with one or two of the members about what the lake was like, was told that new rules are in place, like you've got to use the owner's bait and things like that, which is a little bit of a, oh, I'm not too sure about those kind of rules. I like to be able to use my own bait and have a little bit of flexibility in the way that you can fish, rather than just this sort of robotic style of fishing that is creeping into a lot of our carp fishing nowadays. And I got the number off the Facebook page, tried to ring it, no one answered, and then just got this generic text message back which basically said, if you're inquiring about the winter syndicate, this is the bank details, blah blah blah, we'll then contact you once the money's been paid. And I felt it was like it was an impersonal way of doing it. I didn't like the way that it was doing it, because it wasn't filtering me in any way. If it wasn't filtering me, then how was it treating other people? There was no filtering process, and you're probably going to end up on a lake with a load of guys that some of them are going to be very experienced and very respectful. Some of them probably won't even have any respect for other anglers. So I didn't kind of like that filtering process. I personally prefer the filtering process where you're going to get dealings with the owner, and it's not just about money, if you get my drift. Because I understand that lakes have got to make money, absolutely do. It's a business for them at the end of the day. But just to take someone's money without knowing who they are or what they're like, to me it seems the wrong way of doing things. Maybe I'm old school, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. You know, personally I think somebody just giving you the money and you don't know who they are, then you're going to let them on your lake. You're going to risk the atmosphere amongst the anglers. You might get some infighting, some bickering, some arguing and stuff like that. And believe me, I've seen all sorts of things over the years on lake. I've seen guys scrapping. I've even been involved in one or two ruckuses myself when I was younger, and I've seen guys getting pushed in the lake. I've seen people's cars get done over. I've even heard rumours of certain anglers burning down club huts and sailing huts and things like that, because they're not happy with some of the decisions that's been made by the owners or the guys that run the lakes. So, you know, you're going to come across a wide variety of different people, as you do in carp fishing. That's one of the beautiful things about carp fishing, is that one minute you can be fishing next to a guy that's unemployed, the next minute you can be fishing next to a guy that's just done 20 years for murder, just got out of prison. Another day you can be fishing next to a Premiership footballer. That is carp fishing. And over the years, I'm sure all of you guys have met those kind of people on the bank, because that is what we're like. We're a community of anglers, and it doesn't matter what your background is. If you're an angler and you love fishing, then you're our friend. You know, that's what carp fishing is about. But once you start breaking the rules and disrespecting the other anglers on the lakes, then it causes problems, it causes grief and an unsettledness on the lake. And I don't want to be a part of those kind of lakes. I like to be a part of lakes where everyone gets on with everybody. I don't like these lakes where, oh, I'm not joining if he's joining, oh, and they're bringing their own politics to the syndicate. And I myself have been on the receiving end of that quite a few times during my career. People who don't know me as an angler, but they look at you on video, they don't like you because of the way that you do videos, they don't like the way that you talk, they don't like the way where you're from, they don't like something about you, and straight away they dislike you. And they might even dislike you just because of your Facebook profile picture. That's what some people are like. And if you've got those kind of people on the lake, oh, we don't want him on here, oh, we don't look at him, oh, you know, they're very negative about the other people, then that bad apple can cause a few problems. You want guys that's just going to get on with everybody. And even though I can be opinionated, I've learned over the years that you can still be opinionated, but it's the way that you deliver it. And probably when I was a bit younger, I wasn't very good at delivering things because I was a little bit more blunt than I am now. And I've learned my lesson a bit over the years as well, that sometimes you've got to hold your tongue back. Even though my missus says that I probably suffer from some sort of, if I was, you know, I've never had myself checked or whatever, but if there's a spectrum, you know, they call these ADHD things or autism things or whatever, I'll be on the spectrum somewhere, because I can be a little bit blunt. You know, it's just how I am. Only the other day I went to pick my eldest daughter up from the train station, and she got in the car and she said, oh, I've been out in the beers last night, Dad. And I turned around and said to her, yeah, you smell like you have. And I had no idea what I was saying. But straight away my eldest daughter, what do you mean, Dad? You know, and then I realised, oh no, I've just done it wrong. There's actually a lad on here. Everybody's got nicknames on this lake. They give nicknames to everybody. Another fish just rolled. I think they must be on a hatch in the upper layers at the minute, these fish, because the way that rolled on the surface. They've got nicknames for everybody on here, and there's a lad on here who is one of the nicest guys on the syndicate. Absolutely wonderful guy. Wonderful lad, and they call him Strange Steve. And he's so not strange, it's ridiculous. He should be called Nice Steve because he's really nice, but he got labelled Strange Steve because there's another Steve on here, and the other Steve walks around chatting to everybody, but Strange Steve is quieter. He's not strange, but he's quiet. And he just, you know, just does his own thing and gets on with things, and they've labelled him Strange Steve. And I went to talk to him one day and I said, why do they call you Strange Steve? And what do they? He had no idea. But me being me, I put my foot in it and was completely oblivious to it. But anyway, that's another thing. You know, the point I'm getting at here is you've got to fit in on these lakes, and once you fit on lakes, then it gives you a good chance of getting onto other lakes as well, because you'll find that a lot of venues that you apply to join syndicate lakes, they'll be asking you for some sort of references. Where have you fished before? Where have you been a member of before? Can they recommend you? And a lot of these lakes, as I say, they're very much connected. Local lakes especially, they all know one another, and they can soon filter out the bad apples. And generally speaking, a lot of the lakes that I'm a member of now, they're absolutely wonderful. I'm still a member of Girton. They're a great bunch of guys. I'm a member of this lake. I've actually got membership to about 20 different syndicate lakes this year, which is an awful lot of tickets. And of those lakes, I wouldn't like to count how many big fish there are in them. There's some absolutely huge carp in all of them, and you know, some amazing fishing, because there's a lot of really good waters around now, especially in the north of England. You don't need to travel down south as much as you used to do, because carp fishing in the north has definitely progressed, and the size of fish is phenomenal. Just between this lake where I am now and the big pit, to give you an example, I've got access to about 70 odd different 40-pound carp, which is just incredible, absolutely incredible. And then unknown amounts of 30-pounders as well. So, you know, that's phenomenal fishing. And to get onto these kind of lakes, they're very much high in demand. So there is a filtering process to it, as I say, and there is a way of definitely doing it. It isn't just a case of you can join, here's my money, can I fish your lake? You know, I certainly notice with a lot of the younger guys nowadays that have got this very much, they're probably coming off the open access lakes. There's a lot of open access lakes that's available nowadays. They come off there, they're looking for some syndicate fishing, and they think it's as easy as just joining straight away. Oh, why can't I get on there? It's not fair that you're on there. Well, there is a process of doing it. And I remember dealing with a story at Carp Talk which involved long-time carper Jim Gibbonson, and it had taken him something like 30 years to get on a syndicate. This was a really small, intimate syndicate. I can't remember exactly how many members there were, but there was something like about half a dozen to a dozen members on this lake. And it had taken Jim years and years and years to get on it, because once you became a member, it was that good a lake that, and it was quite a cheap ticket, I think, that you needed to die before a space became available. And over the years, progressively, one or two of the members had passed away, and Jim eventually got this ticket. You can look back at Carp Talk. It might have been about 28 years, I think it took him, something like that. I can't remember. I'm probably wrong on that, because as you get older, your memory fades. But that's how long it can take to get onto some waters. And over the years, it's taken me quite a while to get onto lots of different syndicate waters. So that's what might happen to yourselves if you're interested in joining them. And you know, there is a process of doing it, as I say. It isn't something that just happens overnight. And sometimes you might find that you've got to put a deposit down for a ticket, which the deposit might not be for that year, but for the year after. I do know some lakes where it takes 2 or 3 years to get onto, should we call it, the actual waiting list, and you've got to pay then a retainer fee to get on that waiting list, and then that comes off your overall price at the end of the year. I do know some lakes where you have to spend not just the ticket fee, but you also have to pay for your own mats and slings and nets, and they have to come through the fishery owners, and they then have to be kept and stored on site for biosecurity reasons, which I totally get nowadays, especially with the spread of KHV and those kind of viruses. A lot more syndicates are going down that route, and there's lots of different rules and regulations depending on what the owners are like and how they like to run their syndicates. But what you will find on these kind of lakes is probably the opportunity to meet a lot more members than you would do on a day ticket lake. Also the opportunity to take part in work parties where you've got to do at least one work party a year. On a Saturday, work from 9 o'clock in the morning right the way through to 6 o'clock in the evening, where you've got to do just general maintenance on the lakes, like repairing the swims, repairing the fence or the gates, just general maintenance on the lakes to make sure that the upkeep of the lake is in tune with what everybody wants. And also you might find that you can buy yourself out of doing those kind of things as well. If you're a busy guy, certainly at weekends, or if you're a member of a lake down south and you live up north like I am, sometimes it's not easy for me to get a day off to drive down on the day of the work party day, so to give you the opportunity of buying yourself out. It's not because those guys might be lazy, it's just that sometimes these days are only set on certain dates, and if you're not available on that date, then at least you're giving some sort of contribution back to the fishery, even though it's a financial contribution, instead of your physical presence at the work party. And I know some guys that don't like doing work parties, but believe me, work parties are absolutely great because you get to meet the guys at the syndicate, you get to integrate with everybody, you start to make friends. And syndicate fishing is massively different to day ticket fishing. It really is, because often on day ticket lakes you might not get to know the guy fishing either side of you, and you do tend to see a few more quarrels on day ticket lakes as well, because you've got boundary markers and things like that. But every lake's different, every venue's different, everybody is different as well. We all want different things from our fishing, but personally speaking, I prefer syndicate fishing, and there's something special about it. It really is, especially lakes that aren't as pressured as the day ticket lakes. This lake here, Foundry, can be quite busy on here at times. At the minute it's not that busy. I think there's about 4 guys on here. Sometimes I've been on here and there's 14 guys on here, but there is lots of space. Even with that amount of members, it's still quite a lot of space on here. But if I'm honest, I do like lakes that are nice and quiet, and that's what syndicate fishing is all about for me. It's not just the catching of the big fish, it's being on a lake where you've got plenty of space around, you don't feel hemmed in, and you feel quite relaxed, and it's your sort of escapism. And certainly if you've got a very high pressure job, and I know guys on this lake, there's a guy, I think he's a brain surgeon, or he's a surgeon of some description, so obviously he's got a very high pressure job. There was a member on here a couple of years ago who's a soldier as well, he just got back from Afghanistan and stuff, so imagine doing that kind of job, a very high pressure job. You want to come down to a lake and you've just got a nice relaxed, just chilled out environment, and if I'm honest, that's the kind of thing that I want from my carp fishing as I get older, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of the members on this lake are quite old as well. There are some one or two younger guys on here, but a lot of the guys are middle-aged on this lake, and they just like the same thing. They just like to rock up, put the rods out, chill out, don't really care if they catch, but when they do catch, they catch something really nice, and everybody's friendly. Everybody will go around and take a photograph with the other members, and that's just a little bit of an insight into this lake, as I say. But all the lakes I'm a member of are run pretty much the same as this one. Some of the rules are a little bit different. There are quite a lot of rules on this lake, and on other lakes like Alan Cooper's lakes, you ain't really got many rules on Alan's lakes, and that's absolutely wonderful down there as well. So every lake's different, but there is some great fishing that's available on a syndicate ticket, and I hope that's given you a little bit of an insight into what it might take to join a syndicate, what might be expected of you to join a syndicate lake, and also how to go about joining some of these waters, because there are a lot of syndicate lakes around. You might not know where they are, and if you're new to carp fishing, then you're going to be driving all the way down from the north, say, down to places like Linear or places like Bluebell, Orchid, some of the really well-known day ticket lakes, but you're going to be driving past an awful lot of very quiet syndicate lakes, and there are thousands of them up and down the country. Some of them keep themselves, some of them have got a bit of a profile, some of them don't mind you doing a bit of filming, some of them don't want you to do any publicity at all. I've got membership on some lakes that are like that, and the fish that I've caught from those lakes, I don't put the pictures up, but it is what it is. it depends what you want from your fishing. There is a bit of everything for everybody out there nowadays. That's what I will say about carp fishing. When you go on social media and you see some of these old guys saying, oh, it's not as good as it used to be, carp fishing, it's all commercial, this kind of stuff. Well, it's not like that. It really isn't. There's something for everybody. That's what I think. There's busy lakes, there's mediumly busy lakes, there's really quiet lakes. There's a lot of fishing that's available in the UK now, some great fishing, and we are really privileged to be in this era of carp fishing, because there's some great carp fishing out there. God, one of these rods has got to go. It really has. But anyway, there you go. That's a little bit of a look at syndicate fishing, and maybe it's giving you some sort of insight into it if you're just about to make your first steps into syndicate fishing and how to go about it. And all I can say is the best of luck, and I hope I shall see you again next week at the same time, 6 o'clock on this channel for my next upload. I don't know what it's going to be. I'm trying to get an interview with Martin Wassell, who has just caught the big one out of the big pit. So anybody who's been around carp fishing for a long while, they will definitely have heard of Martin Wassell. That will be a really good interview to listen to. So maybe I shall put it up next week. We'll see. But hopefully you'll join me next week at 6 o'clock on this channel for the next upload. Thanks for watching.